Is Ronnie the player that you want to play least in a tournament?
Oh, most.
Really?
Most for me. My record's pretty good against Ronnie, and I think whenever there's a crowd in town, it's not been sort of the same for the past year, 18 months. But if ever there's a crowd, you want to play Ronnie because the atmosphere is just sort of different class, and it's sort of everyone gets behind him. And for me, that kind of spurs me on to go out there, and it's sort of my time to shine and take away his fans and try and. I know it's going to be sort of a bigger audience on the table, off the table when Ronnie's around. So for me, it's just that extra chance to show what I can do.
What's he like to play against? Can you give us a taste of what that match is like?
It's difficult. It's completely different to playing anyone else, and it's kind of if you're playing any other player, you just play your own game. But when you're playing him, it's like playing in his own show kind of thing. He really feels like he owns the table kind of thing, and it can be different. It's quite difficult to play. It's quite off-putting. Just his mannerisms and everything is quite in your face. So it's not just sort of a game of snooker. It's a bit of sort of argy-bargy, a bit of mind games going on as well at the same time. So it's sort of a massive matchup.
Was I suppose he would have been big when you were growing up. Was he one of your idols growing up? Who did you look up to in the world of snooker when you were coming through?
Yeah, it was probably him. John Higgins, I think just the way they go around it, the way they make their breaks, and John's probably one of the most level-headed. He just sort of never seems to lose his cool, and just having that belief under pressure, I think, is something that I admire.
And just finally on Ronnie, would you be mates with him off the table? Is he? I mean, what's he like away from the matches?
Depends what day it is. It's literally like that. It's very up and down, and to be fair, he's never had a bad word to say about me, I don't think, and vice versa. He's certainly sort of the best, most natural player that the game's ever seen. It's just probably. It's just with how people have grown up, the families around them, everyone is different. So he's completely different to me. On the table, he's a joy to play against. So.
I want to talk about that time when you realised you were very good at snooker to then going on the professional circuit. How intimidating was that to begin with? Because there was obviously big tickets on your name as a really talented young player, but was that sort of daunting?
I think probably around 12 or 13 was kind of when I knew I wanted to play snooker full time, and I kind of knew I was good enough if I kept putting the work in, putting the hours in, and stayed dedicated. And as a junior player, I was sort of winning everything, and there wasn't really that much competition. So when I first turned professional at 16. I think I lost my opening 2 games. There was only 6 tournaments in the season back then. So I only had 4 tournaments left to kind of save it. And it kind of hit me hard, really. I didn't expect it. There were certain players I'd watch on the TV and think, I mean, they're good, but like, you expect to beat them. And it's just all these different scenarios that play through your head. When you watch on TV, the pockets look massive and stuff like that. And when you turn professional, you realise that they're really not. And so I had to learn quick, really. 4 tournaments left. I managed to stay on the tour that year and just kind of built on it from then on. But to me, it took a while to really get through onto sort of the main TV, into the public eye. It took me sort of 4 or 5 years. And looking back now, it was probably kind of a blessing that I didn't sort of run through it and get through straight away. I kind of learned a lot from that period. 22
ranking titles now. You won the World Championship. You're number 1 in the world. I mean, the last 2 years, 24 months has been the Judd Trump show in the world of snooker. So what has made the difference in your opinion?
I think just putting the work in off the table, just getting your mind right, and just trying to enjoy it, not putting too much pressure on myself. I think in the past, I kind of know how good I can be in practice, and when I was putting that pressure on myself to go out there and play like I do in practice, it sometimes doesn't happen. And now I've kind of showed everyone what I can do, and everyone's seen that I can sort of compete with the best when they're playing the best. Just learned to enjoy it a lot more, and I'm able just to play my own game, concentrate on myself, and I think that really reflects my results.
Like, I don't want to sort of degrade the art of snooker, but do you think fitness is actually like really important in the modern game of snooker? Do you think being the fittest there helps?
Probably not being the fittest, but being reasonably fit. I think also with social media nowadays, if you're on it, you want to feel sort of comfortable in your own skin out there. You don't want to be worrying about what other people are saying and stuff like that. So it's just important for me just to feel comfortable, try and dress well, look smart, just try and keep as many people off my back as possible.
Sad, isn't it? You got to like a mirror before you go out so you don't get slated. You're obviously proactive on social media, but has there ever been a point in your career where that affected you, where if you weren't playing well, that sort of fan abuse got you?
Yeah, I think at the start, certainly. I think sort of Twitter, it's been around a long time now, probably like 10 years. I think I've been on that. Instagram, not quite as long, but not kind of the same Instagram. You don't get the same abuse as Twitter. So it's a lot more comfortable. But yeah, I think maybe about 2 years ago, I come off Twitter for about a year. I just didn't look at it. I think during the Worlds, not this time, but the one before, I completely come off. Didn't look at anything before my games. Just didn't want to see it really. And yeah, it can be quite tough to deal with certain people saying certain stuff, but I've kind of grown used to it. It's not something that you should have to get used to, but I think everyone is kind of just learning along the way, and it's just important that for me now, if I do get abuse or anything, is normally because I'm getting to the latter stages of the tournaments. People don't seem to abuse me if I'm losing first round. They don't care. But when you're getting to the latter stages and winning stuff, everyone seems to come out of the woodwork.
Which of the players do you fear most? Is probably the wrong way of saying it, because you're clearly the one that they all have to beat. But which of the players, would there be a player that might surprise the listener when you say, I'm wary of that player coming through? There might be someone that you don't really look forward or fancy playing in the tournament because they're better than perhaps the fan or the market gives them credit for, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people like that. There's a few players that I struggle against. It may not be the top players. I think people, probably the more attacking players that play the game like myself. I think when I'm playing someone that enjoys playing safety, I find it very easy to get into the game, and you can kind of just play your way into it. You know that they're not going to take any risks. I think when you're playing someone that's just taking every shot on, and you're like, oh my God, please don't take this on, because if they pod it, you're under pressure all the time. So there's no one that I really fear, but I think the more attacking players like Jack Lazowski, Sean Murphy, that are just going to go for every single shot they see, they're probably the people that you want to keep an eye on.
Do you enjoy those games more though, or do you like the safety battles?
I've learned to enjoy the safety battles, but I probably
love them at the start.
I didn't when I first come through. I used to hate them, but now I've learned to enjoy them. But it is better playing that the sort of the free flowing snooker, where it's just sort of break for break, going for the long pot, going in, and I feel like most of the public want to see that as well. So it is something that I enjoy playing.
You're closing in on 1,000 centuries, is that right? You probably don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how long. How long do you reckon that will take you to get?
I think I'm about 800 at the moment. So at the rate I'm going, probably 2 or 3 years I'm hoping for. And it's something that I've always kept sort of an eye on. I know Ronnie's passed it. He's the only player that has done. It's one of the records that I want to take off of him. a lot of the records in snooker are very tough, kind of like athletics, really. They stay around for sort of like 20, 25 years, the world records in athletics. And it's kind of the same with snooker. I think a lot of the records that Stephen Hendry set and Ronnie are very tough to get, but I think the century break one is one that I can certainly pass.
Do you keep a close eye on all your stats, or are there just a few like headline ones that you like? For example, the World Championship. Obviously, you want to win as many world titles as you can, but is there a number in your head that you want to get to before you're sort of content with your career, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not really about the big events on sort of the World Championship, the UK. I think the Masters are the big ones to the public, but for myself, is every tournament, probably barring the World Championship, is pretty much the same for me. It's the same sort of preparation. Everything's the same. So I'm not really that bothered if what tournament I win. The World Championship, probably at least I'd say 3 times. I'd want to win that. Anything else is a bonus. And I think with sort of the longevity in players winning the World Championship older and older, now into sort of their mid-40s, is certainly sort of a goal that I want to get to.
Where do you think snooker will be in, say, 10 years' time?
I think it's going to need a lot of hard work, and I think a lot of change behind the scenes and people changing their mindset on how they view snooker. But I think if it carries on how it's going, I think it's just going to sort of stay at the same rate. It's going to be one of the sports that kind of people will turn on for the World Championship, but that's about it. So it's important for me to try and kind of have my say, kind of promote snooker as much as possible, do as much as I can to get it in the headlines for the right reasons, and certainly changing sort of what you wear in the image of snooker, I think, is important if we really want to compete with the other top sports.
Have you got support from other players on that? And as a group of players, will you rally together to go, right, we need to change the image of snooker here, however that looks?
Yeah, I think I did an article before the World Championship, and the support from the other players was immense, really. I think everyone had the same opinion, and it is something that I think the people involved with snooker have been in snooker for so long that they kind of lose track of what the younger generation want. And it's important for me to try and get snooker up to date and make it a little bit more fashionable.